So reflexive verbs indicates that you're doing the activity to yourself, and the way you tell from here on out, if a verb is reflexive is how. How can you tell if a verb is reflexive? Meaning, like grammatically, it has what on the end? A say, exactly. So when we look on page 180 and 181, especially on page 181, what do you see all over the place on page 181? Verbs that end in what? Say, exactly. So that tells you when you conjugate me, I am reflexive. So we're going to talk about conjugations. Por ejemplo, aquí, ¿qué hace Rosa? Esta chica se llama Rosa. ¿Qué está haciendo? Rosa se maquilla. Se maquilla. What does this indicate? What is she doing? What does maquillarse even mean? To put on makeup. Right, exactly. If you work backstage at a play or on the set of a movie or a TV show and you're a makeup artist, would that action be reflexive? If you work backstage at a play and you're a makeup artist, or let's say you work at a beauty counter in a department store and you put makeup on people all day, is that action reflexive? No, because why? You're not doing it to yourself, or she's not doing it to herself, or they aren't doing it to themselves. We can talk about it in other forms besides the yo form. But Rosa, who's she putting on makeup to? Herself. And we can tell because of the picture, but we can also tell without a picture. How? Because of the say, right? The say is meaning herself. So if she's putting makeup, for example, on her lips, her lips, in English we would use the possessive adjective her. But in Spanish, for lips is labios, and we'd say in los labios. We would not use a possessive adjective, sus labios, because why? Why wouldn't we use the possessive adjective like mis labios or mi cara or mis manos? Why wouldn't I say mis or sus or tus? Because this reflexive pronoun tells us what? The say tells us what? That she's doing it to herself. So it's grammatically incorrect to use those possessive adjectives me or mis or tu or tus or su or sus or nuestro, nuestra, nuestros, nuestras. It's grammatically incorrect to use those. You just want to use your articles, ella, los, or las. If it's your hands, las manos. If it's your feet, los pies. Otro ejemplo. ¿Qué hace Paco? ¿Qué hace Paco? Muy bien, excelente. Paco se ducha. He's doing it to himself. He's not washing his dog in the shower, but he could. He could do that, and if he did, we wouldn't have what in this sentence? The say. Right, if he's doing it to somebody else, okay? And notice, there's nothing different about the verb conjugations. Duchar, ducha. Maquillar, maquilla. So build on what you know. All we're doing is applying this say. And how do we know to use the say or not? If you look up a verb in the dictionary and it has, for example, you look up, how do you say take a shower? You'll see this, ducharse. The infinitive form has that say on there, which tells you when you conjugate me, you have to use a reflexive pronoun. The say, and we'll look at some other reflexive pronouns here momentarily, which is why on page 181, all of these verbs end in what? Say, exactly. But they're still regular, or they can be irregular, AR, ER, IR verbs. Like, for example, we've learned the verb poner, to put. But now it's to put clothes on ourselves, oneself. Me pongo un suéter hoy porque hace frío. Or, you know, again, to reference my children who are little, they can't quite get dressed themselves, like by themselves. Pants end up on backwards, shoes end up on the wrong feet. I try to let them do it and let them spend the day with their pants on backwards, but most of the time I have to put their clothes on them. And when I do that, I'm not going to use a reflexive verb. ¿Entienden? Yo pongo ropa en mis hijos y también me pongo la ropa. ¿Entienden la diferencia? Me pongo la ropa versus ropa en mis hijos. Okay, estas dos chicas, ¿qué hace María y Beatriz? Son las 8 de la mañana. Son las 8 de la mañana y se levantan, ¿no? Se levantan o se despiertan. Son más o menos sinónimos. Se levantan. This one isn't quite as obvious. We don't necessarily think of doing this activity to ourselves, like putting on clothes or makeup or something. But even the action of getting up or waking up, which both of those verbs could be used here. We could say se levantan, or, yeah, I would say like, you know, esta chica would be levantarse, but this one is more of se despierta. What is the difference between se despierta and se levanta? To wake up and to actually get up. Se levanta you could use like to get up out of your chair or, you know, get up out of your bed. Anytime you're getting up. It doesn't have to be after you wake up. But se despierta is waking up. And then you might fall back asleep. You set your alarm, it wakes you up, and then you hit snooze. And you go back to sleep. And you wake up and back to sleep. Wake up, back to sleep. But you don't get up until a certain time. So, son diferentes. And just think, when I was learning Spanish, I was always desperate for more sleep. So, se despierta is waking up. It's a stem-changing verb. And in this case, it's in the el ella form. So we're still conjugating verbs, just like we have all along. Shoe verbs, stem-changing verbs, verbs irregular in the yo form. Even in the preterite tense. We just learned the preterite tense. We can put reflexive verbs in the preterite tense. The only thing that's new today is this little ¿Qué hago yo? So, ¿cuál es el verbo que corresponde a esta actividad? ¿Qué verbo? Cepillarse, ¿no? To brush one's teeth. En la forma de yo, me cepillo los dientes. So say when we're talking about others, me when we're talking about who? Myself. Have we seen me before this semester? Absolutamente. We had 2 chapters with me as a direct and indirect object pronoun. And really, this is like using me as an object pronoun because you're doing it to whom? To oneself. The action is reflected back on you. But again, you know, I have to brush my kids' teeth, so I would say cepillo los dientes de mis hijos. No? Make it non-reflexive. So me can be a pronoun that's reflexive, indirect, or direct. It has the flexibility to do anything that's done to me. Me means me. And remember, why am I not using mis dientes on that note? Why do I say los dientes? Why is it grammatically incorrect to say mis dientes? Because
basically saying I'm brushing my teeth.
Right, I'm brushing my own teeth to myself. It's redundant, it's grammatically incorrect. So remember, on the super site, when you get those little things wrong and you don't know why, double check. Did you accidentally write me, or mis, or tú, or tus, or su, or sus, or nuestro, something like that? With the reflexive verb, you don't need it. ¿Entienden? Okay, it's clear. So just to review, what do they all have grammatically in common? They all end in this say. But that's not what conjugates. That has nothing to do with the stem or the ending of the verb. So be careful, because an often a mistake that I often see is students think that that's part of the infinitive. These really are connected, but they have nothing to do with each other in terms of the conjugation. Our verb is maquillar. Our pronoun is se. Pregunta?
So like the one with the sepia,
Uh-huh.
like los dientes.
Sí.
Since it's like plural, it's still just me.
It's still me because they're my teeth.
Okay, it would be los.
Los dientes, right, exactly. Los dientes is plural. The teeth or the face or whatever has number and gender, but the verb is reflecting who's doing the action, to whom, to oneself.
Oh, okay.
So the pronoun, that's a good thing to clarify. The pronoun, because it's reflexive, is always going to like quote unquote agree with who the subject is. If it's yo, it's me. If it's tu, it's te. And if it's he or she, it's se. And we conjugate the verb, for example, like an AR verb. Maquillar, maquilla. The ending of the verb is an AR verb, so it ends with an A when somebody else does it. Careful with that. Se is not a conjugation. So don't conjugate with se on it. You take the se off first and apply the correct pronoun. So you can put these on your paper. If I'm doing the action to myself, me. If you're doing it to yourself, te. If they're doing it to themselves, or herself, or his self, se. So we have a 4 for 1 special here. Se is used over and over again. So just to review, in what chapter did we start with? Chapter 5, we had lo, la, los, and las, okay? For the he, she, it, and they form. Lo, la, los, or las. And then in chapter 6, your most recent test, it was either le or les for el, ella, usted. Indirect objects. But now we've got se, and that's when you do it to yourself, okay? You don't do it to anyone else. You don't give it to anybody else. The action is reflexive. Se is the reflexive pronoun, okay? So we're still recycling mete and nos, mete and nos, mete and nos, but now we're replacing lo, la, los and las, le and les with se. So far this semester, it's just been like pronombres locos. And you have to keep this all organized as we progress in Spanish. So to reiterate, how do you know if you use se or not on a verb? How are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to tell? Here's a review of what I said at the beginning. Lavar, lavarse. These are 2 verbs that we're going to see, through the next couple semesters in Spanish. What do they mean? What does lavar mean? To wash, right? Like lavar la ropa. We'll see that in 201. That's vocab in chapter 12. Lavar la ropa. We talk about household chores. This is a vocab word. To wash your clothes. Students never struggle with learning this verb because they've already seen it before. I saw lavar in chapter 7. Lavarse, though. Lavarse means what? To wash oneself, which is why in our vocab we have lavarse las manos. So, to reiterate my question, how are you supposed to know if your verb needs a reflexive pronoun? How are you supposed to know? On the super site, they give you these 2 verbs. Which one of these verbs, when you conjugate it, needs a reflexive pronoun? If I want to say like, mi mama. Let's say she's the subject. She's washing clothes today. She's washing her hands today, okay? When I conjugate this verb, which verb needs the reflexive pronoun? Lavarse. How can you tell? The se tells us, okay? So when we conjugate this verb, I take the se off, I take the r off, and I conjugate it, and now I put the se in front of it. Se lava las manos. She washes her hands. That's how it translates in English. But in Spanish, remember, we don't want to use sus manos. How do I conjugate it when she washes her clothes? Mi mamá lava la ropa. She washes the clothes. But let's say she's not doing somebody else's laundry today. She's just doing her own. Su ropa. I am going to replace la with su because it's her clothes. Or maybe she washes my clothes. Mi ropa. Okay? ¿Entienden? And I don't use a possessive adjective with her hands because why? It's already indicated. How? With the what? Reflexive pronoun se. Okay? It's not really that confusing. If you are speaking Spanish, like in Bolivia, and you accidentally say, se lava sus manos, are they going to like slap you in the face for being an idiot? No. They're going to understand you. It's not going to interfere with communication. People make mistakes in language all the time. The whole purpose is to communicate. But on the super site, when you click submit, if you got it wrong, that's why. Okay, salud. So, to review, reflexive verbs. They're called reflexive. Why? Because they have reflexive pronouns. But we still have verbs with stem changes, like vestir is a stem change of E to I. Our infinitive here is a stem changing verb, to get dressed. Vestir, E to I-E. So in the nosotros and vosotros form, just like a shoe verb, we don't have the stem change. So everything that we've learned so far, like I said, verbs that go to the yo, or sorry, that are go in the yo, like tener, tengo, poner, pongo, hacer, hago. We still have to apply those rules when we conjugate the verbs. We still have to apply the rules for stem changing verbs. Dormir, dormir se, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. Because sometimes when we make a verb that's not reflexive, it changes the meaning of the verb. So, ¿cómo se dice dormir in inglés? To sleep. Dormir means to sleep. We all know that because we like it. It's easy to remember. It's like fiesta, cerveza, dormir. Everyone always remembers what those words mean because we like them. Dormir. So if I want to say I sleep, I say yo, what? Duermo, stem changing verb. Okay. Dormir se, though, is a little different. Dormir se doesn't mean I sleep. It's actually a little bit more specific. It means to, and this is on page 181, to fall asleep. Let's say you didn't sleep. You don't sleep a lot at night. No duermo mucho por la noche. Maybe you suffer from insomnia. And so you fall asleep a lot in class. And you want to convey that idea in Spanish? Yo no duermo mucho por la noche, entonces en clase yo me, if you want to use yo, you can, you don't need to. Yo me duermo frecuentemente porque estoy muy cansada. Me duermo means what again? I what? Fall asleep. We've all been there. I'm sure you have in class where no matter how hard you try to stay awake, and it could be happening now, you're falling asleep. You can't stay awake. It's different. And it's different conveyed with the reflexive pronoun. So sometimes verbs change meaning when they become reflexive. So be mindful. Okay, bueno, chicos.